Thank you so much for meeting with me again.
Of course.
Can you please tell me what was the timeline like? When did the tour go on hiatus and when did you resume touring?
Well, it was March of 2020. I believe the last performance of the tour was on March 12th because we had heard in the afternoon we were playing Dallas, Texas. We had heard that that Broadway had shut down, and so the company had a meeting right before the show because we said, so what's going to happen here? We can you tell us anything you know? We asked our company managers. And so at the time they said, we have a show tonight until further notice. We don't know what's going on, but we'll let you know as soon as we do. So we did the show that night. And by the time it was about an hour after we got home from the show that night, we got an email from our company manager saying, the city of Dallas has put an order in place that says no one can gather more than, I don't remember how many people, maybe 100 people or something. And so we're not going to continue our run here. We don't know how long we'll be, but we're going to send you all home. Either you can go tomorrow or the next day. So this was on Friday the 13th or Saturday the 14th. We were scheduled to go back to wherever our homes were. And we were given access to our trunks. We travel with not only suitcases, but everybody has a trunk that you can fit. Everyone does different things. I have like kitchen supplies in there and other seasons clothing and that kind of thing. So come back to the theater, pack up your dressing room. And I remember our company manager said, I'm taking with me anything I think I might need for the next 6 weeks or so. And so we were like, oh, you think we're going to be gone that long? Who knows, right? So we took a lot of stuff with us, and I flew home on the 14th of March. It started to become clear that it was going to be a longer hiatus than we had even imagined. I have to say that probably within the first 4 or 5 months, by the time we got to the summer, they sent our trunks back home to us. They stored all of the set and all that we travel with 6 trucks for the show. They stored them in a climate control place in Texas, so that it would not have to sit out in hot weather in the trucks, but that it could be somewhere safe. And they sent all of our stuff. So we started thinking, okay, now we've got all of our stuff, our belongings back from tour with us. And I started to think it was not going to be until September of 2021, which is actually when we started gathering again. So a full 18 months later, I was fortunate enough to get to do the concert version of Come From Away on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So not all of us from our company, but a lot of us gathered to rehearse that and do that concert. And then we relaunched the tour. We started rehearsals for it in Memphis, Tennessee at the end of September 2021 and officially reopened October 5th. So it's been great to be together, and the audiences have been fantastic. They've been showing up and happy to be in the theater again, happy to see the show. And of course, we have all our challenges now with the pandemic still going on, and health and safety protocols, and life on the road is definitely not the same as it was when we left a year and a half ago, to almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah, I read the New York Times article about touring through Omicron and about Minnesota. You had very challenging 2 weeks.
Yes. Well, so we were in warm weather really through almost New Year's, because we played we played Florida for November and December, and I think that we had a chance to really be outside a lot, eat outside all the time. All of our activities could be outside, and we started to wonder what would happen once we started to get to colder weather, and that's exactly what happened. That plus Omicron coming, in, we started having some cases in January, and then by the time we got to Minneapolis, it was January, I think 11th. This is terrible. We have 12 actors on stage, and 7 were out on opening night in Minneapolis. So we only have 6 standbys, and they had flown in someone from New York who was doing some emergency standby coverage in New York. They flew her out to be with us. And then all of a sudden she was on that night. So we met her at 5:00 in the afternoon, and she was on for Janice at 7:30 that night. So it was kind of crazy. And then more people got sick. And at one point, I think 8 out of the 12 of us were out. And 5 of the 6 standbys were good. One was sick, so we still did not have enough coverage. So our producers got very smart and started calling people and brought in David Shannon from the UK company, who had not done the show in 2 years. He lives with his wife on a farm in Nashville now. And Gino Carr, the original Oz, he had not done the show for 2.5 years, lives in San Diego now. James Call, who was from the Toronto company that had sadly just closed a few weeks beforehand. And Happy McPartland, who's a standby on Broadway, she came to play Bonnie for the weekend because our regular Bonnie was out sick, and our regular standby for Bonnie was out on a couple of personal days that she had planned for a long time. It was a big life event, so she couldn't cancel it. And so all of these people came in, and it was amazing. I have to say, I never want to say any of this without acknowledging that I never want anyone to be sick. I never want to celebrate someone coming into the show because someone's sick. So that being said, as our friends were recovering, and we knew that fortunately that they had all been vaccinated and boosted, and they were not terribly sick. They were, like I said, you'd never want anyone to be sick, but they were not in dire straits. So going forward, these new wonderful people came in, and we did have some rehearsal, but not that much. And we had to cancel 3 shows, which was very terrible, but not as bad as a lot of other shows have gone through. And so we used that time to rehearse, and then the magic of this show and people being as well trained in the show, to know it, we could come together and have this totally blended company and tell the story in a the same way, but also in a new, refreshed way. A couple of little differences. You'd be on stage and say, "Oh, that person does the traffic on the other side, okay, of the table. Okay, I got it." But other than that, it was a real testament to everyone's investment in telling the story well. The investment in wanting to not only keep going, because of course you want to keep going, but with this particular story, that real that's just really strong feeling of wanting to do it and do it well and reach the people that you're giving the gift of the story to. So it was crazy. It was crazy. And then we just got everyone back for somebody was on, so someone was sick, and then he also had some planned days away. So it wasn't until yesterday where we had everyone back on stage that, everyone back on stage that was supposed to be there. We do have a person out on a leave right now, but and everyone who was supposed to be there was finally back for the first time all 12 of us in 2.5 weeks, maybe almost 3.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It probably was really challenging for the wardrobe department as well. So many
Yes,
people.
and so this is interesting. Because people came from other companies, sometimes they had to get their costumes from somewhere. So, for example, James Call, who came from Toronto, he got his costume from Toronto, from the theater, and packed it in a suitcase and brought it with him. They sent Holly Butler, who is a standby from New York, with an entire suitcase of her 5 covers. So she had every costume with her that she ever wore. And I think Happy did the same thing. She came in with her costume from New York. But yeah, everyone worked so hard to make it happen. Everyone in the building. It was really an incredible team effort.
What is it like to be back on tour? I mean, it's so different now. Everything has changed.
There are some things that are not different. Here are the good things that are not different. We're back together with this group of people that's really just incredible, great people. We're telling the story. We go out there and do the show 8 times a week. People are responding just as strongly, although they're all wearing masks, but it doesn't bother me. Some people said, oh, I will miss seeing their faces. I can't, we play these very large houses. It's different than New York or Toronto, where they have a smaller house and maybe people are closer. The front row is closer. We are playing anywhere from 1,100, which is small for us, to I think the biggest theater we've ever played is 4,000. So that's a lot of people, right? And so some of these theaters, they go back far, and they have purposely left what would be the orchestra pit, which we don't use in our show anyway, but opened, rather closed. So no seats are in the orchestra pit, so that the audience is a little farther away from us for everyone's safety. And so, the mandate is for any venue that books come from away, they have to make sure their audiences wear masks. So everyone wears masks. But I don't feel like it's been a muffled response. I feel like we can still hear them laugh. We can still hear them applaud at the end. They still jump to their feet at the end. I feel the collective energy back and forth. So those are all of the things that are not different. Here are the things that are different. I spend a lot of time by myself at my computer, which is okay with me. I'm a writer as well, so I have a lot of different projects going on all the time. I have not eaten inside a restaurant since last July. There was a little period of time, I don't know, remember back in the summer of 2021 when we had all just gotten our vaccinations and people were like, you can go and eat in restaurants, it's fine. And then that ended. But I still have not eaten inside a restaurant for all this time. So I cook a lot. I travel with an air fryer. I cook a lot, or I get takeout, or delivery, and eat in my room. When we were in Florida or, the warmer weather places, it was easier to eat at restaurants outside, or pick up something and eat it outside. In the winter months, it's a little more challenging. What else is different? Travel. The challenges of going on airplanes is not the airplanes themselves, because as we understand it, the air is recirculated every 2 or 3 minutes. So, and everyone wears masks on the plane, so it doesn't feel dangerous. It's more like when you're walking through the terminals and there are a lot of people who don't want to wear their masks, and we don't feel safe with that. Most of us wear 2 masks at a time. I have a KF94 underneath another 4-layer fabric mask to keep it in place. So I feel good, that it's that I figured out for me how to feel protected as possible and still be able to breathe and talk to people. The hotels are different because in some places, people aren't wearing their masks, and you're the only people that are wearing masks are people from our company. And that has felt terrible. You know, I don't get into an elevator with someone not wearing a mask, even if I've got my 2 on. And so that's different. I just got my haircut this morning for the first time since, must have been October, because I was looking for a place that had totally, safety protocols, everyone wearing masks. And some of my colleagues would call a place and say, just want to make sure, are your stylists all wearing masks? And then the people get mad, and that they end up saying, oh, we don't have any appointments. So that has happened to people. So it's a little, what is different is navigating the outside spaces, what's not in our company. So in our company, we have health and safety managers now, we have protocols, we get tested all the time. They're very strict about how we behave once we're in the building, and how we are protected, which feels good. On the outside, you can't really control that, So the restaurants and the hotels and the transportation, the public transportation, that's very different, because we have to just navigate other people's choices sometimes, and that feels difficult sometimes. And I never actually really articulated it that way, but that's what it feels like. It's navigating other people's choices, and figuring out how to make it work for us. And I think that there's a different, everybody has a different feeling about the risks or the stakes of getting sick. For some people right now with Omicron, they're like, well, it doesn't seem to be as severe. And if you've got the booster and all that, you are protected. However, and maybe some people would mind if they were homesick from work. Maybe some people don't feel like that. For us, it can mean canceling an entire show, which is a big deal because a lot of people are involved and a lot of money is involved. And, it's a lot. So it's not like, so once one of us gets sick, we are out for 10 days. That's the rule. 10 days. You're in isolation for at least 5, completely in isolation. So you cannot leave your hotel room. And they help you, like with delivery, leave food outside your door and stuff. But then you have to be isolated for another 5 days even after you test negative. So that's what that is. It's not the worst thing in the world that can happen. We're just so grateful that people haven't ended up in the hospital or anything. But also, when it adds up, and like it did 2 weeks ago, and we did not have enough people to do the show, that's canceling, possibly 8,000 or 9,000 tickets, because it's 3,000 a night for 3 nights. That's a lot. I think it's just, this has really been an amazing time where it mirrors the show in a way, in that you realize how much you can take care of one another. And if you choose to, not only, so part of our job now is not only to stay in peak performance level every day, right? And we travel on a lot of our days off. But our job also is to take care of ourselves and our families and our colleagues and the show. And so that means we have to be mindful of how we're doing that. And I'm just so thankful that I'm with this company and this show with these producers, because people really do take care of one another, and it's very comforting to know that.
I know that many actors give up their apartments and leave their stuff in storage when they sign on to tour. Like, did you have where to go when they sent all of you home?
Oh yeah, I personally did, because I have not rented my place out. My husband and my dog are still there periodically. Sometimes they travel with me, but sometimes they're at home. So no, I did not have that problem. I think that maybe one or two people have rented their places out to others, or some don't have an apartment anymore. They have everything in storage. But as far as I know, all of our people had someplace to go for family or friends, and so they were okay. Thank you for asking. That's very kind of you. Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, what did you do during the pandemic hiatus for 18 months?
I was actually very, very fortunate, because I did get to work quite a bit I did some television shows. There were some very, very strict safety protocols on set for film and TV. As I said, I'm a playwright as well, so I had some things of mine that were being done virtually, which was of great opportunity. And I also I'm an officer at the Dramatists Guild, which is the trade association that protects playwrights, composers, lyricists, and librettists. So I had a lot of advocacy work to do, a lot of meetings to do with people concerning how we help writers in this time. So I was actually very busy and very fortunate to get to work a fair amount while I was getting ready to go back on the road.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Christine. I know that it's not easy to talk about the pandemic and that you're very busy, so thank you.
My pleasure. It's great to talk to you.
Stay safe and have
a
great show tonight.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.